Mes tambours si autant de rassembler au souple, que l'entente séparée, tant pris fait loin racine. Mes tambours si autant de rassembler au souple, que l'entente séparée, tant pris fait loin racine. Si autant de rassembler au souple, qu'elle entende séparer, tant pris fait loin de racine.
Ladies and gentlemen, good evening or good afternoon, good morning, good day, depending on where you are at this time. You on 1804 Renaissance for another episode. We welcome everyone around the world at this moment. This time we have our co-host, Gillian Butis, all the way in Portugal tonight, and Ibn also is away.
South America.
All the way in Colombia. Guys, welcome back. Welcome to the show. Good evening. How are you?
No, from the Kubas.
Thank you for that. Thank you for the I'm from Gombas. Thank you. We're so happy to join you tonight. Another 1804 show, blasting with information, an excellent guest that we have here tonight. We're so happy to be here. I'm all the way in Portugal, like you said, and it's nighttime here, but I'm happy to join the show and continue what we've always done. Bonsoir, Yves.
Bonsoir Guylaine, bonsoir Fristel, comment nous y? Et me connais bien nous en forme de Kubas, parce que moi je suis bien fouet. Et Portugal, il faut bien Guylaine, il faut bien. On va pas il faut dire tellement trop for there. So happy to see you guys and tonight I look forward to an exciting conversation, a very thought-provoking conversation about Haiti, the Dominican Republic, with an amazing special guest. So look forward to it.
Yes, indeed. She is an amazing guest. She have done a lot of great work, research, compiled together with a lot of great depth. So we're going to dive into this her work tonight with her. So with a wonderful conversation, as you said. Non forme tako base Guylaine, moi vraiment en forme parce que et gain les températures Portugal là font plus bien que Leeds.
Oui. Il chaud ici. Hein?
Ah ouais.
Ah,
Yeah, you get a little bit of tropical weather, right?
Yes.
Yeah, c'est bien. So, à toi, il venait nous, j'en ai dit là, nous partis pour un autre bel épisode. So, we're going to have our special guest who will really dive into the relationship between Haiti and Dominican Republic, the two nations destined to live together despite all the differences, all the troubling history between those two group of people. We're going to navigate to see exactly what need to be done, regardless of what happened in the past, how we can cure these issues and all the problems, or we can resolve current problems and then contemporary problems, while we learn what happened in the past at the same times and what kind of lesson we can draw from what happened in the past. So, même gens nous toujours fait, et nous toujours gagné un proverbe pour commencer show avant nous mener guest là sous podium là, nous gagne proverbe nous qui c'est moun manger la caille moun, ouais, manger caille moun à jambe plein ventre. So eating at someone else's house never fills you up, never fill your stomach or fill you up. Ça, vous pensez des proverbes ça, Yves?
Mais proverbe ça, je peux l'expliquer les noms par quelque façon, et littéralement. Et soit regarder, ça veut dire que manger la caille moun par jambe plein ventre. Ça, faut la mettre accent sur vous-même, sur votre part. Tout ça, vous gagnez. Toute opportunité que vous gagnez pour capable prendre avantage de vous-même. Avant que vous pensez avec l'autre bagage qui est dehors. Par exemple, et soit pour la forme littérale là, vous faites manger la caillou, vous connaissez tout ça mettre à manger, hein? Vous connaissez qui met pour faire, vous connaissez qui manger, vous connaissez qui met tout pour manger. Et là, vous gagnez tout cela, c'est vous-même qui créez tout ça à faire. Mais si c'est là qu'un monde qui mettait à mettre pour c'est baou à baou. Et là, c'est baï à baou. Vous comprenez? Et là, monde ça ka baou, il est capable de choisir qui portion la baou, c'est la baou en pile, c'est la baou tout petit. Donc, manger la caille moun, pas jamais arriver plein ventre et tout autant que vous même pas prendre responsabilité pour créer la vie pas ou pas jamais capable d'arriver gagner succès comme chercher. C'est vous même qui pour créer la vie pas parce que soit chercher c'est ce monde là garder tout le temps ou pas bien capable de créer la vie pour là, de créer succès pour là. Donc c'est pas la caille monde, c'est la manger la caille monde qui arrive plein ventre, mais c'est manger faire la caille qui arrive plein ventre.
Ouais. Ouais, moi c'est vrai, c'est tout ça dit, il y a un pile bon sens qui a adapté avec proverbe là. Et pour même Guylaine, ça va penser. Alors, Guylaine?
Well, you know me, I never take the proverbs very literally. I kind of go into the philosophical meaning of it as a society. So, manger kai moun pa jam plein ventou. A neighbor's food never fills your belly, island speak. And I see it as a form of saying that only we know what we need to survive. Only we know what we need to strive. So when someone gives us something, it would never be sufficient enough to kind of remedy the problems that we have in our societies. And I kind of look at this because I come from the development school. So I kind of looked at this as a sort of development, country development. When you get aid from other countries, whether it's UN or any other countries, they never really give you aid to satisfy the needs that you have to kind of improve your lived, your lived needs, your livelihood needs. They give you aid in accordance to what they can give you and what they want to give you and what they want to support. So it's all based around what they want. It has nothing to do with what you need. And I think that's where I'm coming from with this kind of proverbs that a neighbor's food never fills your belly because the neighbor doesn't know what your belly needs. Only you know that. So only you can determine what it is that will fill your belly. Only you can determine what it is that can help your society.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I think you nail it. It's basically so on bagay pour nous penser tout et avec proverbe ça c'est et pour qui ça par exemple haïtien yo utiliser manger carrément ouais so les entrer dans tradition nous tout parce que en pile fois ils n'en voient dans la communauté yo famille qui doit faire manger. Il fait manger pour famille. Mais il pense tout à bail, bon petit bagay bail voisin tout et chez nous échanger plat et voisin voyer baler, il voyer bail voisin en retour etc. Donc maintenant ça et
Partage.
ça le voyer même si le voisin voyer pour ça le voyer il voyer on plat manger ba ou mais on va gagner 10 moun la caillou.
Voilà.
On plat
Yeah,
manger
yeah.
chaque moun ka un petit cas là-dedans. Mais ça va jamais
Mhm.
plein ventre aucun monde n'a qu'à là. Donc faut you
Yeah.
have a necessity to cook for your own house. You based on what the house is, how many people is in there, so you cook enough so to fill up everybody's belly. That's basically where they came from with it. So, ou capable recevoir dans mes voisins vrai, mais ça va recevoir, il pas jamais capable parce que voisin pas planifié et ça va vous en fonction des besoins. J'en ai déjà dit déjà. Donc, faut toujours penser.
Ben, on nous demande un voisin.
Exactly. Yes. So, it's really a time for us to. It's exciting, the most exciting moment where we're going to bring our guests on the panel to get into the conversation. So tonight we have the privilege to have Dr. Sophie Maríñez, who is a professor at the university in New York and a researcher and someone who is very vested in what transpired inside the Dominican Republic into in terms of Haitian narrative, how the Dominicans and historically look at Haiti, look at Haitians, look at the relationship between the two nations. And also, as we said at the beginning, she's going to look at with us during that conversation. So what can be done to make sure that both Haitians and Dominicans, they live on that island, the Taínos island, back in time, but now become our island based on what transpired throughout history. So, guys, are you excited?
Oh, yes. Very excited.
Yeah.
Very excited to get into that conversation. It's going to be amazing. And we talk about it all the time, but I think tonight it's going to be very fruitful.
Yes. So we will really ask everyone who's watching at this moment to sit, take the sit. If you're going to have, depending on where you're at, you may be very cold where you're at. Maybe you need a cup of coffee, you need a cup of hot tea, or someone says if you're hot, you need some a cup of fresh water, like evening in Colombia right now. So we're going to sit and relax and enjoy with Dr. Maríñez. Hey, Dr. Maríñez, how are you?
Hello. I'm good. Thank you so much for inviting me here in your lovely podcast. I can't wait to start our conversation. It's really a pleasure to be here tonight.
We are excited to have you. We're honored. This is a great pleasure to grace your presence on our platform, 1804 Renaissance, a platform dedicated to Haiti, to the Haitian people, wherever Haitians are in the world, we serve them, and in the world, we're trying to shed a spotlight on what is positive, what can be done for us to have a stronger community, and what can be done for Haiti to move forward as a nation. So you're welcome on the show. We really honored to have you.
Thank you. Thank you.
So, in general, when we bring our guests, before we go any further, we have this proverb we would like you to take a look at and then give us a little bit of sense from your own understanding about it. Dive into the Haitian narrative.
Yes, well, I think that Guylaine really explained well, the meaning of this proverb much better than I could do. But it does resonate with this idea of depending on others and also being at someone else's house, which is part of what I'm going to be talking about as my talk refers to Haitian migrants in the Dominican Republic and how there is, a situation of suffering and maltreatment. And because you are not in your home, you are in someone else's home. But at the same time, you've been there for so long that it's become your home. So we can address that more broadly. Yes.
Okay, great.
I think it would do us well to introduce Sophia. Sophia Maríñez is a professor of modern languages and cultures and literature in BMCC, where she recently won the Distinguished Teaching Award. She is an affiliate professor at the Graduate Center and regularly teaches the MA in Study of the Americas at the City College Division of Interdisciplinary Studies. So, yes, she's written books. One of her most recent books is about Haitian history, isn't it?
Well, not about Haitian history, but more about how Haiti has been represented in Dominican narratives, national narratives, and how the relations between the two have appeared in national narratives over time.
Yes.
How Haitians have depicted the Dominican Republic as well. So yeah. So it's
and that's very topical.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, as we always do, we even if we give a glance of who you are now, for those watching us who don't really know very well who's Dr. Sophie Maríñez, we would like to give you the opportunity first to you know yourself better. So we did what we could, but we left the rest to you to even present yourself to the audience. And who is Sophie Maríñez? Where you from? How it come that you were in the US? You're a professor of modern language, and tell us a little bit about you.
Yes. So I was born in France. My father was Dominican, and he was at the time living in France, in Brittany, where he met my mother and started a family. And then when I was 7 years old, we moved back to the Dominican Republic, where I grew up and learned Spanish. And then I also completed my college education at the local university. Have a degree, my first degree in translation. So languages were my area of expertise, or have been, French, Spanish, and then English. So after I finished my college degree, I came to the States to start a new life for many reasons. I'm not going to go into details because that's too long. But then I started working as a translator and as a cultural journalist. I worked at some point as a diplomat for the Embassy of the Dominican Republic in Mexico. And when I came back in the year 2000, when I came back to New York, I decided to start a career, in academia. And I went to graduate school. First, I was interested in Dominican Americans. But then I decided to do my degree in French. The initial interest was to address Haitian and Dominican relations back then. But there was not enough scholarship. There was not enough research. And even though I had Edouard Glissant as one of my professors, and his work illuminated many questions I had about multiple, like, identities that come from multiple backgrounds and that don't fit one box, like mine. It was very helpful also to understand, what happened to identities when people migrate and have to adapt to a new environment. And so my story is really the story of so many people, right? So I could immediately identify with migrant communities in the US or anywhere. And so there was a class I took in 17th century French women writers that directed me to another interest that I have, which is misogyny and gender, and how women in early modern France had to deal with the misogyny. And why? Because when I read that material, I said, oh, this is exactly what I heard last week. This hasn't changed much, right? The positions are so millenarian for so long. It's so hard for a woman to impose their authority, their credibility, and so on. So I graduated, and then, but then a couple of years later, 2013, an infamous event took place, which is the court ruling 168-13, infamously known as La Sentencia, issued by the Constitutional Court of the Dominican Republic, which stripped of their nationality hundreds of thousands of Dominicans of Haitian descent, and made this decree or this ruling effective retroactively to 1929. So this ruling rendered hundreds of thousands of people immediately stateless without nationality, which means you can't have documents to go to college, to have a job, to get married, to have a bank account, to even get a passport and get out of this country that obviously rejects you, and put all these people in a very vulnerable position. And so the ruling created such a scandal internationally and locally. I mean, you probably heard of it, right? Even though it was 11 years ago, and younger generations don't know about it, but it was very controversial. And I decided to shift gears and go back to my initial plan of Caribbean studies and use my position, or this luck of being able to speak two languages, to speak French and to speak Spanish, and to be an immigrant, and to be a scholar with access to resources that are not necessarily available in either Haiti or the Dominican Republic, to dig into to go to the bottom of why this ruling, why this anti-Haitian rhetoric that was so rabid. Because when I was growing up in the Dominican Republic in the 1980s, there was some of this prejudice against Haitians, but it wasn't to the level that I was witnessing in 2013. And so certainly not at the state level, such as structural measures. So I decided to do that work. And then I found that these two countries, Haiti and the Dominican Republic, are usually spoken about within what people call the conflict paradigm. Right? Always taught, you always hear they're in conflict, and or the cultural differences. And I want to debunk those two myths, because what I have found is that there is an internal conflict. It's not a national, into two nations, but more a vertical conflict between an elite at the top on both sides of the island who get along very well, and a population across the island who very often or across time have gotten along very well as well, and especially around the border region. So the conflict that we see today is a legacy of the colonial moment, when slavery took place, and there was a conflict between enslavers and the freedom seekers, popularly known as the Haitian Revolution. So when that happened, as you know, the Haitian Revolution and the birth of Haiti created an immediate anti-Haitianism across the world at the time that was dominated by the slavery system, right? We know that those nations, France, Britain, and the US, did not want the example of Haiti to replicate among their slave societies and in the rest of the Americas. So that is why Haiti has been demonized over time and to this day. And so I found that the demonization, and I am basing my work on many other scholars. I mean, I'm not the one who discovered this. This is a summary of my research and built on other people, Michel Roth-Trouillot and many others that I cite in my book. That this, you know, I found that this in Santo Domingo, or in the Dominican Republic, the demonization of Haiti took a specific form, right? Slightly different than what it was in the rest of the Americas, because of its proximity to Haiti, and in Santo Domingo, and then you know, over time, the Haitian Revolution, the massacre or genocide committed against Haitians in 1937, and the population that lived along the border, not only Haitians, but also Black Dominicans, and another important moment of violence, which is the genocide against the native indigenous people, constitute the three foundational moments of violence that are at the core of the national narratives of both countries. So in Haiti, the Haitian Revolution is fundamental for the national narrative. It's the source of pride, and with good reason, right? In Santo Domingo, that Haitian Revolution took the form, the demonization of Haitians took the form of many tropes, characterizing Blacks as savages, and many other tropes. And I focus on one particular trope, which is the figure of the cannibal, because at the same time that there were revolutionaries in Saint-Domingue, there were also insurrections taking place in Santo Domingo at the same time. But they did not evolve to become what they became in Haiti. They were sparse, they were not coordinated, they did not have support. And so the authorities were able to squash them and just criminalize them, the rebels, and call them el come gente, the people eater. And so at the beginning, the people eater, or come gente, was only a Black slave, or an enslaved person who was just rebel, or many. But there was a recognition that there were many of them. There was not just one; that there were many rebels. But that story comes back in the 19th century. And it evolves over time. And then it's not just rebels during the colonial time, but a Spanish man who went to Saint-Domingue and then learned from the Africans a lot of witchcraft. And then they put a curse on him and transformed him into a monster who eats people. And that was in the 19th century. And that served to create a taboo, a psychological border. If you go to Haiti, bad things are going to happen to you. So that narrative is to create fear. Then in the 1990s, that trope comes back again, but it's used for political purposes. When Jose Francisco Peña Gómez, you may have heard of him, who was a survivor of the massacre, of 1937, grew to become the most formidable political leader that the Dominican Republic ever had. And his opponent, Joaquin Balaguer, who was a right-wing leader, had very little to offer to his constituents, to voters, and resorted to question Peña Gómez's loyalty because of his origins from Haitian parents, right? So, and then you hear again the story of the people eater who is now a Haitian person who rapes women and who have descendants, Dominican Haitians, Dominicans of Haitian descent. So you see the same trope coming back with changes over time. And now, I mean, even a month ago or 2 months ago, you see that trope coming back in the United States, in the politics, in the political campaign in the United States. I couldn't believe it when I heard, the pet eating narrative, fake news, used again for electoral purposes. So that is one moment, right? The Haitian Revolution and how it is narrated or portrayed by anti-Haitian or those who lost their human properties and resent that, because those are the ones who are reproducing that narrative. The descendants of the enslavers.
Yeah.
And you may during the Haitian Revolution, as you know, many French planters fled everywhere, to Cuba, to Louisiana, but many went to Santo Domingo and created families there. And they, transmitted their resentment against, the rebels because they had lost their profit, and they transmitted it to what would then become Dominican families.
So, Dr. Maríñez, it is based on what you explaining here. I would like the audience to really understand this in the context of what's happening in Haiti even today, and then also what's happening in Dominican Republic today. So people, a lot of the time I met people who's asking me, they would ask questions like, oh, how Haiti is so chaotic, and then right there you cross the border to the Dominican Republic, and then everything seems to be well organized, and it's a sense of civilization here. And then in Haiti you have so much problem, so much turmoil, so much instability. So how you explain this? When based on what you saying here, it is very, very important that people understand the problem on the island. So either side, it's not the people. It's a certain elite. It's the colonizers. Even after the fight for the revolution, even after the revolution, so they never went away. The European colonizers never went away. They mutated. They took different forms. It's sort of reincarnations in our own people's mind. And then this is basically what that's the continuity of that colonization. And that's basically what's happening on either side of the island.
Yeah, of course, it hasn't changed.
No,
it has not changed. I mean, it is a repetition. It is a repetition with
to meet the moment, to meet the geopolitical moment, or whatever situation that transpires in the moment. So it took some variation, but the very core is a colonization forever, and everything's good on the island is for this tiny elite, and then everything's that bad should go to those one that, even though it's the large majority of people, but they consider these people as some kind of aliens, not belong. So they're not supposed to get a fair education. They're not supposed to get to eat. They're not supposed to be able to live decent at any aspect of life. So if you there was this even this narrative in Haiti at a certain time where they will tell people, go to your fathers and mothers in Africa. That's where if you need to find food, that's where you need to go. If you need to find healthcare, that's where you need to go. Because what is here is European basically ancestry who built this, and then it's not for you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. So, Dr. Maríñez, thank you so much.
I listened to. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, so that was a really good statement to bring us to the front and to see what's going on right now, and I was able to just think about it and analyze it. But I do want to ask you, in your view, what steps can be taken to foster greater understanding and unity, of course, between Haiti and the Dominican Republic on a cultural and social level?
Yeah. Well, how can I say this? The first thing is to not generalize, because we don't have one. Haiti is not one monolithic nation, and neither is the Dominican Republic. You have people from Le Cap are different from people from Le Caille. People from Pétionville are different from people from Jalousie. You have, so you have class differences, you have regional differences, and the same in the Dominican Republic. And so you have to always be aware that the elite are going to keep fostering this idea of conflict between the two nations, because they want Dominicans to believe that their enemies are Haitians and not them, not the elite. So every time that the Dominican government is trying to pass, some shenanigans, some law that is unpopular or something that's unpopular, then they bring up the Haitian card, right? And they start with a new anti-Haitian policy of all, new one, whichever it is, because they want people to direct their attention to this problem and not to other things that they are doing. So that is really what is happening. It's the state, the elite, and a narrative that they are circulating across the media, which many people absorb and repeat. Because anti-Haitianism is embedded in the educational system, in the textbooks. Dominicans are taught that the unification between Haiti and the Dominican Republic in 1829, not the Dominican Republic did not even exist, okay? So when the unification of the island in 1822, when Boyer was called by the locals to abolish slavery and to unify the island, they portrayed historians, anti-Haitian historians who belong to the elite, have portrayed that as the Haitian domination. And many have, they embellish it and they call it when the Haitian enslaved us. And I'm like, oh, wait a minute, it's the opposite what happened here. They didn't enslave you.
We came to liberate slaves.
Yeah. And so they also repeat other things. When Dessalines came and killed us, well, Dessalines in 1805, there was no Dominican Republic at all. There wouldn't be one for 40 years. So they did not attack. Dessalines went after Ferrand, because Ferrand was in Santo Domingo still waging war against Dessalines and enslaving and he issued a decree saying, we're going to go after the blacks. So these are the tropes that keep dominating the national narrative of identity for Dominicans, to the point that it's almost like to be Dominican, you have to be anti-Haitian. And so when people like me and other scholars or journalists call them out and question that and want to redress the history the way it was and not repeat those myths of so-called violence by Haitians, then we're accused of being anti-Dominican. And so that is the problem of nationalism, because nationalism is a view of the world that blinds you to such a way that you conflate the state with the population. And to criticize the state, the government, the Trujillo, for example, to criticize Trujillo does not mean that I'm criticizing the Dominican population. I am criticizing policies, things that people are doing, not the people themselves. It's like, as a mother, if my son is doing something wrong, my duty, because I love him, is to tell him, don't do that, right? Because I don't want him to get in trouble if he steals or lies, or, I don't want that kind of person in my son. Because I love my son, I want him to be a good person and to do the right thing. And so those of us who take on the cause of defending human rights, whoever they are, human rights, proper immigration policies, and so on, we do it because we want to feel proud of our country. We want to feel proud of a Dominican Republic that respects the rule of law, that does not go on a manhunt against Haitian, vulnerable people who are fleeing the violence and the situation in Haiti. And this is what you do to your neighbor? What kind of a Christian country you are? Even if you don't believe in the law, maybe you believe in Christian values because you call yourself Catholic or Christian, right? So this is what is going on, within the Dominican Republic. You have a dominant view, and then you have some of us who are trying and working against it. And then between Haitian and Dominicans, there's always been a history of solidarity. In the 19th century, the Haitians helped Dominicans become independent from Spain in 1865. That is a history that was very well written by historian Anne Eller in her book, We Dream Together. In 1965, also there is a moment of solidarity when the U.S. occupied the Dominican Republic, and in Santo Domingo, there were many exiles from Haiti who had fled from the Duvalier regime, and they joined the resistance, Dominican resistance, against the U.S. occupation. So, and that is something that I learned from the late Ambassador Guy Alexandre, who when he went to the Organization of American States to defend to advocate against the court ruling, he talked about that solidarity between the two countries. So there is a reality on the ground of a lot of exchange, cultural exchange, and also families, right? Marriages and children. It's the reality is very different from the narrative. Of course, the narrative now, over the past 10 years or so, has spread across social media, which did not exist before. And now people who don't have much, knowledge of the real history, they just repeat those things without really thinking through, because they don't know. They're just repeating something they've heard. Oh, the Haitians came and dominated us. Really? And so that is what we're trying to redress. So those narratives are down.
Well, so
Dr. Maríñez, when I listen to a lot of what you said, I kind of go back to Ralph Michel Thoreau. This nation state, this
No.
nation
Yeah.
state battle. So we have on one hand, we have a country that never completed their nation building process, right? That is Haiti. And then on the other hand, we have a country that created a national identity, build their nation in contrast to the other. So we are not them.
Yeah.
We are different from them. We have no connection with them.
Yeah.
They have nothing to do with us. So their entire identity is trying to push away from that side, while the other country itself has never completed, and no one in after Dessalines or after Christophe or after Pétion or even Pétion has never completed that process of nation building, the putting together of everyone under one identity. So this, I think, when we go backwards, we look at the conflict between the two nations in the sense of that conflict, that identity conflict. We share the same island, but we're different. So how are we different? How are we similar?
I don't think we're
And trying to balance those things together.
Yeah, I think.
Go ahead.
I think other than the language, there is more difference between a rural or poor Haitian and an elite Haitian than between a poor rural Haitian and a poor rural Dominican. Right? At this level, both populations are going to tend to have similar practices. Spiritual, for example, religious practices are Afro-Catholic, Afro-Dominican. They have, in the Dominican Republic, we have a version of Vodou. They don't call it Vodou, but they call it Servir los Misterios.
Santeria.
You have el compás, merengue. We have the merengue. The music. We have this very strong African cultural legacy, right? Both. There is also an influence from European intellectual. Of course, discourse, right? Haiti is the connection is with France, and Dominican Republic is with Spain, but there is also that connection, that colonial experience is similar. So the cultural differences. What is really cultural differences? Language, religion, music, food. What else? All right, little ways of cooking or walking or it's so. When I spent time in Haiti, and sometimes I'm like, oh my God, this is exactly what we do in the Dominican Republic. Oh, this is so many times, and we eat the same. Some food we don't never eat in Dominican Republic. We never have John. We don't like pickles. We don't like spicy food. But those really, is that what is going to be called conflict between two countries? It's not. It's not. What is the conflict is what the Dominican government is doing against the migrants. That is really where the violence resides. It's between, and with the complicity in the past, I don't know right now what's going on, but with the complicity of Haitian elites, right? Who encourage, and the government who encouraged the sale of Haitian workers to Dominican Republic, and they were imported all the way since the U.S. occupation from before. The U.S. occupation of 1915, 1934 started this. When they turned the whole island into one big sugar plantation, with sugar mills on the east in the Dominican Republic and workers coming from the west, from Haiti. And they started that, and then all the governments after that continued on both sides, importing and getting back. It's a big business, and so that's really, and so the conflict paradigm is really a smoke screen between the two countries. It's a smoke screen to hide
Yeah.
what the Dominican government is doing to the Haitian immigrants or the parent or even Black people. I mean, during just Dominican Blacks, these expulsions, we have many reports of Dominicans being arrested by the police even when they have their identification. I'm
Yeah.
Dominican. What are you doing? No, you go. And you
Yeah, yeah, but the diviners, remember,
Yeah.
you at the beginning you pointed out that's the court ruling
so yeah, just to summarize,
in 2013. So
yeah,
that court ruling basically make everyone who's not descended from Europe
yeah,
a Asian.
exactly.
So you have the Dominican Republic as a country as started in the 1940s, but that country as it is today, it's only for colonizers, the European, and then with the Americans who do business.
Yeah.
But anyone else, if you're not descended from Europe, you're not white Americans, you
Yeah.
are Haitians, regardless of when you were born, where you were born on this part of the island. If ever, it doesn't matter if you've never been on the western side of the island, which is Haiti today. So if you are not white, you are not from Europe, you are not which white Americans coming here to do business, you Haitian, and then you are not welcome. Even though you are the engine that run all the business in there, you're still not welcome. We take you when we need you. When we at the moment we don't need you, we push you on the other side of the border. And then when we need you again, we'll send the guard, the same guard who push you off the border will go find a way, make you pay, and then cross over, and we need to use you
Yeah.
again. This is a cycle that's repeating over and over and over, and then this is what the situation is. On the one hand, you since the 1800s, there was fight, anti-slavery fight, and then there's this the colonizer who do not want, you did not, and then will never want to leave the island for what the island represent in terms of wealth to Europe. And then this is the same narrative that continue. It's on different forms and different times, and they're using different people to perpetrate it, the different people to make it endure forever. But then this is what it is.
Yeah. So the real conflict here is manifested in three ways: anti-Blackness,
Mhm.
regardless of your nationality, but they call you Haitian, but because they're only to them only
Yeah.
those Haitians are Black. So
Exactly.
anti-Blackness. If you're Black Dominican, that you are also vulnerable.
Mhm.
Anti-immigrants, right, which conflicts with anti-Haitian, but only when you are Haitian, anti-immigrant, and extractive capitalism. So we have a nation state that is serving corporate interest and elite businesses on both sides, and also abroad, and that creates the situation of social injustice and oppression and poverty, dire poverty in the Dominican Republic. So that is the real conflict that I see.
Exactly. Exactly.
Wow, that's an interesting conversation. It's like I feel like I'm hearing a lot of the things that I used to like ask questions. So why? And now I'm understanding that in a much deeper level. But I
Complex.
do, yes, 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 in its full sense now. So, and again, this is my last question. What advice would you give to young scholars? And there's not I don't know too many scholars on that topic, especially the relationship between Haiti and the Dominican Republic. You are the first that I have the opportunity to meet, so I'm grateful. So,
Mm.
what advice would you give to young scholars interested in exploring uh, the post-colonial studies and or Caribbean history? What advice would you give to a young scholar?
Um, well, to do to follow really a rigorous method, not to repeat old tropes, to be very rigorous, to question, um, where stories come from and who do they serve, right? Um, really, that's what it comes down to: who's benefiting from these stories,
Mm,
and is
Yeah.
this true, right? So yeah, I mean, there is a mounting a scholarship on Haiti and Dominican Republic. There, in my bibliography, you have like 40 pages of references. That in itself can be my advice. Read that bibliography, take it from there. There are many different areas in which scholarship can, scholars can address the attention. It doesn't always have to be about identity. It can be about, the resources. It can be about, the geography. It can be about urban planning. It can be about the economy. Because this is what it comes down to. It's about, how extractive capitalism is destroying these two countries. Haiti, it is where it is
Yes.
because it has never been allowed to take control of its country ever since France imposed that debt. Um, and then when Aristide wanted restoration of that debt, he was overthrown by a coup d'etat. There was never a moment in which Haitian, well intended, honest, and capable Haitians, which are many, have been allowed to take the reign of their country. And that and they have been, and the ones who have been supported have been, figures like Martelly and others who have not done much good to the country, have allowed U.S. interest to, take over. Um, and the same thing in the Dominican Republic, although maybe not to the same degree, but you do have millions who are impoverished because of, government policies.
Yeah. And in my conversation with different Haitians and people, mostly people who really have interest in the country history, um, is often they often point out to Boyer, Jean-Pierre Boyer, as someone they say who had a tremendous opportunity to make the island different than it is today, um, because he oversaw the some kind of reunification among the two group of people, for over 22 years, and that didn't happen. So, in your research, did you really look into it to see what really happened during that period of time, and then what prevented why from really solidify the island into one country?
Yeah, that is a very complicated moment with Boyer, because, you know, and there is a historian, Andrew Walker, who wrote his dissertation about that specific moment. There is also work by his Dominican historian Quisqueya Lora, who has also studied that moment. Um, and so yeah, there is, new historians who are, paying attention to that very complicated moment, very complex. Mhm. So there is a lot of work to be done, a lot of work.
A lot of
Um, yeah.
A lot of work. Right. So, any
A lot
question?
of work, a very complex story.
It is very complex. We know.
No, I
Uh,
think I think
well, go ahead. Go ahead, get it.
I've written down a lot of stuff. I've written down a lot of which Dr. Maríñez said, and I've taken note of a lot of names she dropped so that I can do some more research because the relationship between the two islands is not something that I have researched profoundly. It's more the topical, news that's going on, or I've read a lot about Trujillo, but that's about it. So I have never gone deeper into that sort of historical relationship between the two islands. So I've written down a lot of stuff, and I think I'll take it on myself to make that my project for the rest of the year.
Yeah, or you can just read my book where everything is some. I
Okay.
already did all that research for
Yeah,
you.
Yes,
you
yes,
compress everything
definitely,
in the book.
definitely.
Yeah.
Spirals in the
Oh,
Caribbean. So in the introduction,
definitely.
I give an overview of everything in the introduction. Then in the first chapter, I talk about the
Mhm.
comehente that I mentioned before, the people eater. On the second chapter, I talk about the
Uh-huh.
massacre, the 1937 genocide, how Haitian writers addressed it in their work. And then the third and fourth chapters, I talk about Afro-Indigenous connections, and how these connections are material for nation building narratives in Haiti and the Dominican Republic. Um, and how so in chapter 3 we see it in literature and other narratives, and then in chapter 4 we see it in spiritual practices and music. So that's in a nutshell the content of my book, and then you have the bibliography if you want to read
Everything.
more.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
So that's great. But Dr. Magnus, can you tell
I don't
the
see it
audience how to
on
find your book and then the book
Amazon.
title and then how they can find it?
It's published by Pen Press, so you can just Google Spirals in the Caribbean by Sophie Maríñez, and you can buy it directly from Pen Press,
Mhm.
or you can also buy it on Amazon. It's available on ebook and hardcover, and also some libraries also have it. If you are in a university, you can
Ah,
ask your librarian to put an order to buy the book for the library. That way, you don't have to buy it yourself, and then you can read it from the library.
And
That's
I
great. That's great.
and I also wanted
okay,
to
I found
say
it. I found it. I've read it.
for those watching right now who who did not have a chance to write down those books, there will be an article published on Dr. Marina's next week, and that article you will find all of the links for the books, whether on PenPress or Amazon, so that you can make a purchase because knowledge is potential power.
Yes,
Exactly. So
yes.
you only need
Perfect.
to come to the 1804 renaissance.com, and then they will be able to find it. They will see you will see the article. They will be able to get more insight and also get the link to be able to order the book wherever they prefer.
Great.
And
Okay.
perfect. Maybe we can invite her again after we've read her book and we're
Yes.
armed with the information that's in the book so we can have a better exchange and a conversation.
Yeah,
Yes.
definitely, definitely. We will talk. We will bring Dr. Manuel back for us to talk about the book, just the book, just dive
Yeah.
into all the chapters in the book,
Yeah.
and
When you read it, you make notes of your questions, and
mm,
then we'll talk about it in another session.
great, great. So
Absolutely.
now long conversation. It was exciting conversation. So we really honored to have you, as we said at the beginning. So well, you will be back because this is your house as well.
Mhm.
Anyone who share the concern about Haiti, the situations, would like to see progress. for this nation. So Renaissance is your home as well.
Thank
So
you.
we appreciate the opportunity to talk to you tonight and be in that conversation with you tonight. Well, we'll wish you a great end of the year, because it will, before we blink our eyes, the year is done. We're going into 2025. If we don't have a chance to talk to you before then, we'll wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, and we'll see you later.
Thank you so much for having me. It was really a pleasure to meet you and to exchange ideas about our two countries. And I look forward to another session. And I also wish you all happy holidays and a nice vacation.
And ladies and gentlemen, that's the end of our episode tonight. Thank you, Ghislaine. Thank you, Yvonne. Way away from the US. Say your last word. So we move on with the.
Thank you so much, Dr. Maríñez.
No, I'm happy. I've already said what I had to do. I'm happy.
Yeah.
Great, Yvonne. Let's go.
Dr. Maríñez, it was an honor to share the stage with you, and I learned a lot from this conversation, and that really pushed me now to do more research to understand, to see the symptoms and really look at, how this disease came about. Because I like to understand, I like to know that and believe that we are the same people. Really, we are the same people. But if we don't really look at ourselves, if Haitians and Dominicans don't look at themselves as extension of each other, this nastiness that's been going on for decades will continue to go on. It's going to be at the detriment of both people, not just one, everybody. So thank you so much
You're very welcome
for being here.
Well, that's it.
Thank you. Good night.
Thank you. Good night.
Bye.
Sont toutes femmes pays d'Haïti, faut que nous camper, caler, nous garder soleil.